teach you guys anything about the deck specifically, but more share with you some lessons that I learned from a book that I read the other day. It's actually more of an essay based on a speech that Admiral William H. McRaven gave to the graduating class of the University of Texas in 2014. And the book's called Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. But as you can see, I've adapted it to maybe make it a little more relevant specifically to how you can have an impact on the company that we work for. So my short disclaimer is that all change in your life starts with you and the realization of what you want. So I'm not going to pretend to know everything about everyone's situation here, what you're dealing with, or the types of things you're trying to change in the world, but hopefully maybe be a point of inspiration for you to actually make the change that you're seeking to and provide you with some food for thought. Does anyone here actually know who William H. McRaven is? Wow, that's amazing. So he was actually runner-up for Times Person of the Year in 2011 because he organized and oversaw the execution of Operation Neptune Spear, which was a Navy SEALs operation that led to the death of Osama bin Laden in 2011. He primarily worked on counterterrorism operations for the last 10 to 15 years of his career, and he was a Navy SEAL for 37 years, and in his last few years of service, he was the longest serving Navy SEAL currently in duty. So he gave the commencement speech to the University of Texas, and I'll let him introduce my speech because I think he says it best, obviously, but he uses the lessons he learned from his time in the training to become a Navy SEAL to give little points of inspiration to the class about how they can make an impact on the world based on the smallest things that you can do in your life to create bigger change. Hopefully this audio will work.
But every morning, we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
May not be super relevant to your job at Humana, as we don't have a bed here, but he goes on to say that sometimes there's very little you can do to affect the outcome of your day. There may be something that happened where someone didn't show up to a meeting, or the project you've been working on is now defunded and you have to move on to something else. And if you can at least do one thing during the day that you can be proud of, you can always come back to that, no matter what else goes wrong in the day. So for that, I say start off by asking questions. If you want to change the world, you can at least know that every day you've learned something. If you ask one question throughout the day, it doesn't matter what else happened because you accomplished that one thing. And although some days will be more difficult than others, if you really want to overcome the worst days and have a bigger impact, you're going to need friends. So if you want to change Humana, find someone to help you paddle. This lesson, I think, is tragically overlooked in the workplace because there are a few things more valuable in your career than a good friend in the right place at the right time. I came to Humana through the internship program, so I feel very fortunate that I was able to start out with a small group of friends that spread out across the company. So if I had a question about something going on in pharmacy, reach out to my pharmacy friend. If I had a question about something going on in digital, reach out to my digital friend. And I was actually able to be introduced to some designers here at the deck because I had a friend that was working at the deck. And that was my first introduction. That was how I found out about opportunities here, job openings, and how I got to where I am today. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And sometimes more than anything else, you just need someone to believe in you and trust you and give you the opportunity that you're looking for. Because if you come into something, cold slate, brand new to it, and people don't know anything about your skills or who you are, or if you're a nice person to work with, it may be harder to get your foot in the door. And that isn't to say that you should necessarily try to be great friends with everybody you meet at Humana, but you should at least be respectful. Because whenever you run into somebody a second time in the company, you want them to remember you as someone that they would describe positively, to see the good in you, to know that you're talented, so that whenever you need their help, they'll be there for you as well. So Admiral McRaven, whenever he's giving the speech, someone to help you paddle, he says, anything that I achieved in life was the result of others who've helped me along the way. And so make as many friends as possible, and never forget that your success depends on others. But being friendly does not mean being faint of heart. So if you want to change Humana, you also don't want to back down from the sharks. And sharks are not necessarily people, but oftentimes they are. They can also be situations. And being a shark doesn't necessarily mean that it's someone with a high position or a high title in Humana. These are the people who can be bullies, frankly. They're the people that talk over you in a meeting. They're the people who give demands instead of asking requests. They're the people who want to step on others to get where they're going. And they rely on intimidation rather than collaboration. So you need to have courage to trust yourself and know that when you're in the water with a shark, you won't back down and you won't be afraid. You'll be able to stand up for yourself and advocate for what you think and what you believe in. And it'll give you the confidence to be bold in all situations that you need it. So being bold, if you want to change Humana, sometimes you need to slide down the obstacle head first. And the reference here is that in SEAL training, there are obviously obstacle courses that you have to do. And one of the last obstacles is kind of like this zip line rope that is the last obstacle, and the finish line is at the end. So one way of doing it is to go feet first and kind of crawl your way down. But McRaven was saying that every time he did this, he was always late to the finish line. There was always people that would pass him, and he would not break his best time. The fastest way to do it is to go head first and kind of slide down, because your heaviest weight will be pointing downward. But it takes a lot of courage, because if you slide too long or too fast, you're going to face plant at the end instead of landing on your feet. So a lesson I've learned loud and clear at Humana over the last few years is that sometimes it's better to commit to something wholeheartedly than to wait until you're 100% sure. Because at least for us in product development, by the time you are sure, the ship has sailed and somebody else is already building it instead of you. I believe that it's more important to act and learn and grow quickly than it is to really wait until you're 100% sure. Because the quickest way to change is through action, not consideration, not deliberation, not making sure that you have all of the facts and all of the research done. It's just getting started. So in reference to the trials that McRaven faced in his career, he said that sometimes I fell short of being the best, but I never fell short of giving it my best. So as long as you're trying and putting yourself out there to begin with, you'll get more positive results. And without pushing the limits of what you know is possible, you're never going to be able to get better as yourself, your team, or the company. And if you're sliding down the rope head first, you have to accept that sometimes you're going to face plant. So if you want to change the company, don't be afraid of failure. Something that we teach here at the Experience Center is that your product graveyard, which for us is the place where all of the dead, defunded, invalidated products go, should also be something of a trophy case. Because for every idea that you tested and killed, you learned something, and you get a little bit closer to building the actual thing that's going to help someone in their life. So McRaven tells this story about the circus, which is once you come in last in one of your training courses, you get assigned to the circus. And it is an additional round of physical training that you have to do at the end of the day once you're done with all of your other training. And all of the SEAL recruits looked at this as kind of a death sentence, because I've already spent all day training, I came in last, now you want me to do more training, which will keep me up later, I'll be more tired the next day, and I'm more likely to come in last again. And then you get the circus again, and it's just this downward spiral into basically dropping out. But when it happened to McRaven, he found that after the first few days of pure hell, he got stronger and he got better. And since they were getting additional training, this was actually a blessing, because they were able to become faster swimmers, faster runners, and moving up in the finishing order. So you will pay for your failures, whether it's with money or time or sweat or pride. But if you let those failures teach you something and strengthen you, then you'll be more prepared to handle the next challenge that's even more difficult. But you won't be able to face those challenges alone. You'll have your friends, but you also will have the experiences to become a leader, to inspire your friends to join you along the way. So if you want to change Humana, start singing when you're up to your neck in mud. And this references a time in McRaven SEAL training where they had gone on a really long swim, and afterwards, it's late into the night, so it's very cold. I think it's in Northern California. I don't exactly know where, but they had all the SEAL recruits that were on that swim had to sit in this like muddy pit on the beach. And their officers told them that they would be able to leave if just 5 people would give up and go sit by the fire and get warm, eat food, and be comfortable. But you needed 5 people to do it, and then everyone else would be able to go home and go to sleep. And as they're sitting there, everyone's getting really uncomfortable, and a couple people are starting to kind of crawl over to the fire because they want to get warm, they want to be done with it, they want to save everyone else the trouble. And one person in the crowd notices this, and they start singing this god-awful beer song that's out of tune, but it's enough to get everyone else singing, and everyone else starts to feel a little more comfortable and a little warmer in the mud, and they all remember that they're there together and that everything's going to be fine, and nobody quits. But this is exactly what the officers wanted, so they pretty much got to go home after that anyway. So the idea here is that if just one person can have the courage to show that they can get through a situation and they can share that with other people, it's not about how fair or unfair the situation is. Oftentimes the greatest people are people who were defined by life's unfairness. Helen Keller, Rosa Parks, Stephen Hawking, a million others. And if you decide to stand tall despite yourself, despite the situation, you'll provide more hope for other people, not just you. So if you can hold on, and if you can sing while you're neck deep in the mud, then others can too. And it may not be easy, but if you want to change Humana, never ever quit. If your work day's filled with simply accepting the way things are and the way you've always done things, the way that your year or 2 years or 5 years have been planned out for you with requirements and red tape all over the place, if you pity yourself and blame your circumstance on just the way things are or the way the company is or the way your leader is, your work experience is going to be difficult and it's going to be disappointing. If, on the other hand, you refuse to give up on your ideas and your vision for what you want to be and what you want your team to be and what you want the company to be, then your Humana experience will be what you make it. And you can make it amazing. Now, to wrap up my talk, I will also let McRaven summarize all of these thoughts in his own words.
Start each day with a task completed. Find someone to help you through life. Respect everyone. Know that life is not fair and that you will fail often. But if you take some risks, step up when the times are the toughest, face down the bullies, lift up the downtrodden, and never ever give up. If you do these things, the next generation and the generations that follow will live in a world far better than the one we have today. And what started here will indeed have changed the world for the better. Thank you very much.
If you do these things, you will indeed have changed Humana for the better. Thank you.